So I'm starting with some white air dry clay. Now I'm going to make my favourite version, so I'm going to just take a small amount of clay first and add some colouring. And you just mix it in as though you would a food colouring into a fondant. If you want a little bit more colour, then just add a few more drops. And then we're going to roll out. So I'm using a white rolling pin. This is an acrylic rolling pin, and I'm just rolling the clay out to about 1 millimetre in thickness. Now you can see I've not fully mixed the colour in there, but that doesn't matter, it gives a nice effect not to mix it as a solid colour. I'm just going to use a section of the cutter because I want 4 petals. So I'm just going to trim away the excess, and this is my starting point. Just going to put that to one side. Mix some more white in with the colour that I've got, because the second layer is going to be a lighter version of the first layer. And roll again. So I'm picking up the clay a little bit each time I roll because it's quite wet at the moment and I don't want it to stick to the glass mat. Second layer, I'm going to cut a section, and this time I want 6 petals. So I'm just going to trim away the piece that I don't need and put to one side. And then finally, I'm going to mix some more white for the third layer because this is going to be our lightest layer. And then repeat. And this time I'm going to use the whole cutter, which has actually got 10 petals. And then we're ready to form our flower. Now I'm using the firm foam former mat. This is very important. And the FMM tool, this is the large ball tool. I'm going to start with the first piece with the 4 petals. And I'm going to roll the tool over the edge of each petal. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on because what I want to happen there is to really frill out and thin the edge. I'm going to repeat that and work all the way around. Try not to go too far into the petal because you'll just stretch it. You want to concentrate more on the edge. And I'm also going to frill on the cut edge as well. And then I'll just pop that to one side and repeat the process on layer 2. So finally, I'm going to do the third layer. So we've now got all 3 sections ready. I'm just going to lay those to one side as I work on the leaf. Now the leaf, this is the air dry clay again, this is the white clay, and I've put a little bit of green in there. So I'm just going to take a small amount of that, and again I'm going to roll. Now this is a little bit different because I want to put a wire into the leaf, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to use my tool, my ball tool, as a little rolling pin, and I'm just going to roll, leaving a ridge in the centre so you can see where this ridge is here. Roll the top a little bit thinner, and then I'm going to use my leaf cutter so that the ridge is in the centre and we can cut the shape out. So now That means that we can feed in the wire. But I'm just going to use finger and thumb either side of that leaf, just so I can feel where the wire's going, and it's disappeared inside the ridge of the clay. I'm just going to nip it round at the bottom, bring in my mat, and we're going to give it some veining just by pressing a veining mat onto the clay. A little bit of corn flour is useful if the clay is a little bit wet and sticky. So I'm going to now flip it over, and to shape it a little bit more, I'm just going to use the ball tool in a similar way that I did with the rose petals. So I'm just rolling around the edge, half on the clay and half onto the mat. I tend to start at the bottom and work up the side. So we'll leave that to dry, and we'll go back to our rose. Starting with the 4 petals. What I'm going to do is fold this in half, and what you've got to remember is that 1 full petal must fall in a gap at the other side. So I'm folding it in half. I can press the fold, but I mustn't press the petals together at the top. Holding it in my hand, I'm then going to start to roll from one end, rolling it straight until it starts to pick up both layers, and then I'm going to sit the clay onto the mat and guide that round. If you keep the bottom edge level, it will keep the top level. And you can see you've got the centre to the flower. So second layer, 6 petals, fold in half. Again, you can press on the fold, but don't press the petals together. Reattach and sit onto the red mat. Again, if you keep the bottom level, it will keep the top level. And I'm just guiding this round. I'm not forcing it. I don't want to over tighten it because I want the flower to open out. Stick the final petal down, and there you can see we've now got a medium-sized flower. So you could stop there, but we're going to go with the 3rd layer. Fold in half again, press on the fold a little bit, and then where you've finished, we reattach again. And once again, just guide that around without over tightening, just so that you get a nice open flower, and stick the last petal down. So from the top, you can see the shape of it. We're now going to get rid of all the bulk. So I'm using finger and thumb, just where the splits are under the petal, and I'm going to give little pinches as I'm turning the rose around. And you can see the petals will start to move and open out a little bit more. Once I get so far, I can go with 1 finger and thumb and remove all the excess, which can then be used again. Finally, just look at the outside petals, and if you think they need opening out a little bit more, or the edges need rolling, then you can do that. But there's your flower, and when it's dry, and you put it with the leaves, it will look really, really pretty.